welcome to tonight's seminar, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we'll be talking about Haskell 101 and applying to a 4-year program here at Haskell. For you viewers watching the video, if you have not yet completed the pre-survey, please stop the video, complete the pre-survey, submit it, and then watch the video. Okay, welcome back, you should be done. So we're talking about the catalog and what everybody should know in the catalog, academic terms, stuff that will help you while you're here at Haskell. One of the first things I want to talk about is add drop, since that ends tomorrow. So add drop means that you are adding a class and dropping another class. That is without, so if you drop a class that you currently have on your transcript now, that will be removed completely is my understanding, so it won't even be on your transcript. It will disappear. However, if you do not drop a class and you're wanting to drop it by tomorrow and then next week you're like, oh, I should have dropped that class, well, now you have to withdraw, which is a little bit different because with dropping a class, we don't see it, nobody can see it, you transfer out, it's not there. With withdrawing, that will forever remain on your transcript with a W. The W is academically, it really doesn't mean anything to you, nothing bad, it's just a W, it's not calculated into your GPA. However, if you withdraw, financial aid looks at those W's as F's. So if you are taking a 12 credits a semester, withdraw from a class, financial aid will convert those W's to F's. So even though from an academic standpoint, it's not viewed negatively, but from financial aid, it will be viewed as a F. And that can affect your funding. So, moving on to probation and suspension. So your GPA, term RQM, Yoshi's going to elaborate on that a little bit more in a little bit. If either one of those, your term GPA or your cumulative grade point average, if one of those drops below a 2.0, you will then be placed on probation. 2 probations back-to-back can send you to suspension. If you get suspended, you cannot come back. You can appeal, there's no guarantee you're going to get to come back. Backtracking again to the suspension and GPA, if both your term, which is your semester grade point average, and your cumulative, which is your overall, if those both go under 2.0, sorry, they'll suspend you. You will be suspended because your grade point average wasn't where Haskell needs it to be. So, 2 suspensions. From my understanding, once you have 2 suspensions, so if you get suspended and you appeal and you get to come back and then you get suspended again, typically Haskell won't let you come back ever. So keep that in mind. Also, if you don't make continued progress on probation, they have the right to dismiss you. On page 69 of this course catalog from last year. But you can find it on the website. This course catalog is on the website. Passing, real quick, passing for English or math. If you are taking, say you're taking pre-algebra, you have to have a C or higher to take the next level algebra, or you have to retake it. If you have a D, you have to retake it. English 1, you have to have a C or higher to go on to English 2. If you do not, you have to retake that as well. Classification, is anybody going to talk about classification, or you want me to do that right away? Okay, classification. If you have 0 to 29 credit hours, now remember credit hours are the same thing as the credits that you take. So you have 15, you should be a sophomore. 30 to 29 is a first year student. 30 to 60 is a sophomore. 61 to 90 is a junior. And 91 to 120 is a senior. 12 credits is considered full-time. You go under 12 credits, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's see here. Oh, President's Honor Roll. College courses of all A's. So 4.0, that would be on President's Honor Roll. Dean's Honor Roll, college courses with 3.5 term, these are both term now, grade point average. Real quick, I have some more other things that I wanted to talk about. Just real fast, like just really fast. Probation suspension, I talked about that. Official withdrawal. If you are going to withdraw from a class or the university, please officially withdraw. Go through the whole process, because if you do not officially withdraw from a class and just stop going, that is an automatic F. Nothing you can do about that. So please, if you're going to withdraw, before you withdraw from a class or the university, let myself, Ron, or Yosh know before you do so, because it may be a possibility that we can straighten it out before you withdraw. So we'll save you your time and energy. With that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Yosh.
Okay, you guys are all pumped about Haskell 101, right? I can tell. Yes. In the back, over there. I have something for you. Since you were so excited about stuff. All right, so we're going to talk about dorms. So how many of you guys are in the dorms? Everybody's in the dorms? Okay, so you guys already had your dorm meeting? Yes? No? About what happens if you guys drop below 12. So once you drop below 12, you guys do realize that you will be asked to leave the dorms. Was it 24 or 48 hours, Michelle?
48.
You get 48 hours to leave your dorm. Okay, so what can that affect if you're in the dorms? How does that affect you and your education? Go ahead, go, somebody. If you get kicked out of the dorms and you have no other place to live, how can that affect your education? Anybody?
Go home.
You can have you may have to go home. Thank you. What else? If you get kicked out of dorms, you have no place to go. Here in Lawrence, what else? What's gonna happen?
You get behind.
You can get behind. What else? You can fail your classes. What else? Come on, guys. What else can happen? Fail your classes, go home, get behind.
Emotionally stressed.
Emotionally stressed, right? So what we're trying to do is try to help you guys do is avoid that stress, right? To avoid those things. So what are some of the do's and don'ts? I know you guys know it, but just being mindful of the do's and don'ts of the dorms. So everybody knows that, right? Yes, no. You guys are all really quiet. Okay, so just again, we're going over that. So if you drop below 12, you will be asked to leave those dorms. Again, that's going to be that stress. That means there's going to be a lot of different things where sometimes we have students who get in that situation where they get kicked out of the dorms and they just leave and forget to officially withdraw. Okay, so that's very important that we talk about that. But one of the important things is if you feel like you have to drop a class or you have to officially withdraw from the university, come talk to us beforehand. Like Michelle was saying, sometimes it's like you just need to talk it out, or you need somebody to be there, helping with some situation that could be avoided. Okay, so definitely come in and talk with us. Okay, so Michelle did talk a little bit about GPA. So does everybody know what's the difference? Okay, what's the difference between your term and your cumulative? Anybody? What's the difference between your term and Q?
Term is per semester, cumulative is throughout.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody that comes.
Hey, Yosh, what's your favorite color?
Oh, let's go with pink right now.
Okay.
It was pink. I'm wearing a picture. Red, no, let's go with yellow. Yellow.
Can you make up your mind?
Yellow, I'm gonna go with yellow.
Okay.
I saw yellow back there. Okay. So GPA is very important. So what's one of the ways that you can help keep your GPA up? One way.
Do your work.
Do your work. What else?
You have every class.
Go to every class. What else?
Participate.
Participate. Yes. What else?
Stay ahead.
Stay ahead. So one of those things is, again, doing those grade checks, right? Coming in, talking with us. Again, we cannot stress enough because we don't want you guys to have stress, okay? So GPA is going to be important. So if you're applying for scholarships, definitely applying for graduate school, that GPA is going to be very, very important. It's really easy to have, you know, a high GPA, say 4.0, and you have one bad semester, and that like drops your GPA. Once it goes down, it's harder to bring it up than it is to just keep it where it is, okay? So that's why it's important to make sure that you're going to your classes, making sure that you're doing these things. I talked to a student earlier about looking at the semester as far as you only have 4 months, okay? So if you think about it, you only have 4 months in these classes, this one class that you're in, or 5 classes that you guys are in. You only have to worry about that for 4 months, and then you get another set of classes, okay? So how do we make that manageable, right? So that's only 4 grade checks, right? That's 4 times that you have to come in, talk with us, and that's 4 times you're gonna get to check that grade throughout that semester. Again, that's gonna build that relationship with your instructor. You're gonna know where you're at, okay? If there's something that you need to help, you know, again, come here to get that done. Tutor.com, I don't know if you guys have started using that yet. For those of you guys who have classes that you have to write papers, if you guys submit that paper, that's gonna help you guys to go, say it's a B paper. Yes.
Don't forget about the GPA calculations.
Oh, yes, okay. So let me finish this one. So tutor.com, so say you turn your paper as a B paper, you turn that into tutor.com, now that paper can become an A, okay? So how much more is that gonna help you to keep that GPA up, okay? So thinking of that. Also, one of the things that we just started last semester is when you guys bring your grade checks in, if you wanna know what your cumulative GPA would be, if you had to get those grades right then and there, Michelle and Ron calculate that for you. So you can actually know exactly what your GPA is. And say you're like, oh, I think if I get a 2.3, what's my cumulative going to be at the end of the semester or next semester? So it's really helpful to just kind of know where you are and see where that's at. All I have for those, I think Ron's going to take over. Did you guys have any questions about the dorms, GPA? No? Withdraw, add. Am I doing withdraw, add now? Okay, I was like, what? Okay. Okay, we'll let Ron go.
Okay. All right. Now, I know some of you have traveled a long distance to be here. Some of you drove, some of you flew, some of you took a train. In your process of doing that, you have to plan this trip. So, what I'm talking about today is degree mapping. And this is also found in the course catalog, which they don't do a lot of hard copies anymore, so you have to go online, but it's all online. And if you go to Haskell, www.haskell.edu, down at the bottom, you'll see where it says course catalog. And that's where it has all of the academic policies, the degree programs are all listed, and this thing that is called degree mapping. And it's just like planning a trip. So your journey is from here to graduation. So you got to think in those terms. Graduation is your destination. And so they give you a roadmap. When you go into this catalog that's online, they list each degree. So whether you're going for an associate's or you're going for a 4-year degree program, they have it listed in there. In that is all of the admissions requirements and graduation requirements for each of those degrees. And it will also include, it's called a roadmap. On degree mapping, it's called academic roadmap. It gives you a brief overview of all of the classes you're going to need to take for that degree. And it will break it down into first semester fall, first semester or first year fall, first year spring. These are the classes you need to be taking all the way through completion to that degree. So that it lays it out for you so that you know what you need to be taking. So just like when you're planning a trip, a long trip, you have to think, okay, what's the weather going to be like when I get there? You have to think ahead about what the other end holds. The same thing is true for your degree when you're going for a degree. Some classes you can't take until you're a junior or a senior, and they might only be offered in the fall or maybe only offered in the spring. So it's a good thing for you to start mapping out when I need to take certain classes. Some classes you can't take until you've taken these other classes, the prerequisites. So the degree mapping, it lays it all out for you, so it helps you stay on track. Along with that comes a degree checklist. It gives you a list so that you can go through and fill it out. You can copy and paste that page and you can print it off so that you can write in, like, so for this semester, you can mark off the classes that you're taking. And then at the end of the semester, you go back and you fill in what grade you had so that you know where you're at, so that you can just check them off. That's why it's called a checklist. You just go through and check off, I've got this, I've got that. Because if you don't, sometimes you might get somewhere down the road and you think, oh, I should have took that. I should have already done this. You don't want to be caught like that. You want to be able to stay on top of it so that you know where you're at. Now, this is very helpful for you so that when it comes time for early enrollment, so in November, early enrollment is going to open for you to take the spring classes next spring. So it will help you to already know about what classes you need to take so that you can go to your advisor and say, this is what I need to take, this is where I'm at, and you can get enrolled into those courses. If you don't, then if you wait too long, then you may not get those classes that you need. And it may not seem like a big thing at the beginning, but when you get to be a junior and senior, it becomes a big thing, because if you don't get those courses, you're not going to graduate. So you have to get those things you need. You don't want it to fill up with underclassmen when you need that class and they tell you it's already closed. You know, you're sitting there like, wait, what am I going to do? You know, I need that class to graduate. You don't want that to happen. So it's very important for you. This is your education. This is your journey. And so you have to take control of it and you have to navigate it. So part of it is, I would say, just like doing scholarships and grants, you know, you probably have done that, you've researched it. Do this as well so that you get to know this catalog inside and out. It's got all the information about what each degree requires, the classes, and at the back of the catalog, it gives you a little glimpse of what class, or a class description. This is what this class covers. So it gives you an idea about what you need to be and what you can think about. Now they mentioned satisfactory academic progress. So here at Haskell, you have 6 semesters to complete your associate's degree. If you don't have it completed, and this is cumulative semester, so even if you've taken 2 semesters somewhere else and you think, oh, I've only been here for 3 semesters, so I've got 3 more to go, it takes into account all of your academic classes that you've ever taken anywhere else too. So, so you have to take that into consideration, especially, and it can affect your financial aid. So you can run out of financial aid if you haven't received your degree by a certain point. Then you will be ineligible for financial aid. The same thing for your bachelor's degree. You have 12 semesters to complete that degree. And that includes the work you've already put in for your associates. So you want to stay on track. So this degree mapping helps you stay on track so that, you know, if you're looking at environmental science, but you're also thinking, oh, I want to take beginning ballroom dancing, you know, that's going to throw you off track because you have to be working towards that goal. And that goal, they map it out for you so that you can do that. Financial aid does have a separate policy, and as I think Michelle mentioned, that if you withdraw from a class, it doesn't hurt your academic GPA, but in the financial aid world, that's considered an F. And the reason is that money's already been paid for that class. So when you withdraw from it, then that money's lost. So that's why they continue to count it, and they'll calculate it according to their way. So, I already mentioned that you have those semesters to finish before you lose your financial aid. How can you stay on track? Read, get to know this degree mapping, all of your course catalog. You really should learn it because when you come to that point, when you want to petition to graduate, that's what they're going to look at. They're going to look at your degree checklist. They're going to look at what classes have you taken, and have you taken them, you know, according to the program, the degree that you're trying to get. And so basically, they're going to review everything you've done. So it's up to you to make sure you've got it all when you apply. Visit with your academic advisor often. Don't wait, don't just go see them when it's time to pre-enroll. It's a good thing to let them know that, hey, I'm concerned about this, I want to stay on top of it. Go and visit with them and build a rapport with them so that when you need something, they're available for you. And then make sure that you enroll early. Again, you don't want to wait too long. When it opens up, and there's certain days that freshmen can enroll, and each classification, you need to be ready. That's not the time to go see your advisor and say, what should I take? You should already be ready to go because they have to sign off on your schedule. So you're ready, you go in, and you can enroll right away, and you can get the classes to you that you need. And go to class. Go to class, keep on top of that GPA, and that's how you're going to get there. Remember, that ultimate goal is graduation. It might seem like a long journey, but step at a time, you have to get there. So you have to think about these things that might pop up along the way that might get you off track. You know, if you're going on a journey, what do? You put in your GPS, and what does it do? It tells you the shortest, quickest way to get there. And then you follow that, you know. So that's what this is, this degree mapping. This is showing you how to get there. Okay, and then I think we're going into the 4-year programs now. So I want to talk about environmental science. Have any of you ever considered environmental science? Okay. I looked up some job titles, I guess, of environmental scientists. Agricultural engineer, anthropologist, archaeologist, bioinformatics, I'm not sure what that one was, climatologist, ecologist, entomologist, geographer, hydrologist, marine biologist. They sound like things that, why would I be interested in that? But put it in terms of your people, your reservations, your land, your resources. Those are things that these can be affected by. So if you were an agricultural engineer and your tribe has a big agricultural economy, you know, they're going to have needs for that. If anthropologist, if you're on tribal land where people are trying to drill for oil, or they're trying to take the land, the mineral rights and all of that kind of stuff. So all of these things can be applied in all settings. not just native settings, but anywhere you live, anywhere you choose to live. Microbiologist, molecular biologist, paleontologist, wildlife biologist. All of these things are connected in the world that we live in today. And just real quickly, I was going to mention the admissions requirement. There's 3 requirements for admissions to this program. You have to turn in your official transcripts. You have to have a 2.5 cumulative GPA, and you must be in good academic standing. So those are 3 things that are required, and you have to write a letter to the program and send it in, and then they will look at that. Just real quickly, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, annual salary for environmental scientist is $63,570 a year. That's the low end. If you went into other areas like environmental engineering, where you're actually creating ways of how to address some of these environmental issues like pollution, fracking, drilling, if you start creating things, then the salary jumps up to like $90,000 on that. And then, of course, there's environmental lawyers that deal with these kind of issues between tribes and between groups of people. And it didn't list their salary, but I'm sure it's pretty good on up there. So that's environmental science, and then I think Michelle is up next.
Okay, so real quick. Okay, so real quick, before I go on to school of ed, I just want to elaborate a little bit more about early enrollment and what that means. So if you miss early enrollment, that doesn't mean you can't come back. What it means is you return in the springtime now, and when they start add drop, that's when you can add, or it's usually on the Friday before classes start. So then if you don't add or enroll in classes now, maybe you're like, I don't know that I want to go back to Haskell. I have, some other stuff going on right now. And so then you take a break. You're like, okay, I think I'm just not going to go ahead and enroll in class. And then over break, you're like, okay, everything figured itself out. I want to go back. So even though you did not early enroll, you still can come back and enroll in classes. You just have to wait till that Friday before classes. Or when at drop. If you don't make it on that Friday, then you have to wait till at drop. So you actually have 3 chances to enroll in classes. So just because you missed early enrollment doesn't mean that you can't come back. And for those of you brand new students here to Haskell and brand new students in college, once you're in Haskell, you're in Haskell unless you take a break for like a semester, then you have to reapply. So if you're here now, you don't have to reapply for Haskell, you just enroll in classes. So I just wanted to let you guys know, because I know for me, when I was first starting out, I remember asking my advisor, do I have to reapply to go back to school here next semester? And the answer is no, you just enroll in classes. So that's how you keep your enrollment up, you just enroll it. Last day to withdraw is November 2nd. From Classroom University, early enrollment begins November 5th and ends on the 16th of November. Like Ron said, it starts with freshmen, you get 2 days, sophomore 2 days, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on that before I go on to this. So, so you have to get your associate's degree, science degree in paraprofessional education with a GPA of a 2.8 or higher. That's like C's and sprinkling of A's and B's. So 2.0 is basically C's. Okay, so it's a little above all C's. C or better in all required courses. Praxis core academic skills, you have to complete that before you can get into elementary education. Here are your math scores that you have to have, 162.4 for math, reading 168.06, and writing 165. You must designate Haskell to receive your, as the institution to send the test scores to. This cost is out of your pocket. It's $150 for all three, and if you need to retake just one area, it's $90. The deadline to apply for the School of Ed is February 15th. However, if you're considering applying for the School of Ed in the spring, they only accept in the spring because they have cohorts. So they will do their application stuff in the spring, so there's nothing for the fall. And then you start in the fall with your cohort. Now your cohort is your peers that you will go every semester to go in the same class until you graduate. So it's kind of nice because you have them there. If you have questions, you can bounce some ideas off of them. I graduated from there, so for me it was very beneficial because it was like I had family with me from start to finish. You have to write an essay or your vision statement. This will be done in EED 241, which is Intro to Education. You have to complete 20 documented classroom observation hours, and that's completed in EED 214. 2 letters of recommendation, one from a Haskell faculty member and then one from the community which you reside or you're going to go back to. Be in good social standing with the Student Rights Office, so that would be Danelle McKinney. They'll verify that, or you verify. You have to sign a felony disclosure statement and disclose any misdemeanors or felony charges to the Dean of Professional Schools and or SOE, Department of Charter SOE School of Ed. This is important because you will be working with kids, and in order for you to get cleared to go work with kids, they need to know anything like this. Has to be done. And complete an interview with SOE, the School of Ed, their interview committee. Typically it'll be the dean, SOE faculty, and usually they'll have another teacher from the Lawrence School District along with admin from the Lawrence School District that will come in and sit in. Maybe another principal, superintendent will come and sit in. They'll interview you for the School of Ed, but it'll also be, they'll provide you feedback if they were going to hire you for the school district. You can take your application form and requirements to Dean Chuckluck, Ellen Jefferson, or any School of Ed faculty member in Parker. Deadline is February 15th, so they don't accept till February 15th. Any questions about the School of Ed? Yes?
Is this like to get in?
To the School of Ed?
School Ed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like right now, if you're freshman, sophomore, your degree track should be paraprofessional degree, and that will set you up so you have all your requirement courses for the School of Ed. So if you're thinking School of Ed, then get on that degree plan. Find an advisor from the School of Ed because they know that program inside and out, and they'll be able to better assist you and make sure you're taking the classes you need to take. And then when you get to that point, like I said, they only accept in the springtime. So if I actually have one student that is going into the School of Ed, or he's going to apply, who is on a break right now because of the way the school is, how they accept into cohorts. So plan ahead, like Ron said, plan ahead. Make sure, if you guys want to, you can come in and sit down with us. If this is the plan that you're taking, I went to school in the School of Ed. I know the faculty in there, so if you guys have questions and you don't want to go over there, you can ask me and I will get you as the best track as possible. So that way you're not having to take a break, you can just go right through. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Yosh, and she is going to talk about AIS and school business. Yeah.
3 away.
Oh,
Okay,
I get to give 3 away.
So I'm
Okay.
distracted.
Okay. Let me see here. What was the price of one of the scores, or one of the tests?
150.
150. Who said that? Everybody back there at that table? All 3 guys? Okay. All winners. Ooh.
Nice.
Can I have mine back there? Thank you.
Yosh graduated from AIS.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about school of business and we'll leave AIS for the end. Anybody interested in school of business? Okay. All right, so there's some information that you guys need to know about this particular program. Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, so what a business administration program is a program that provides students with a broad base of knowledge in various functional areas of business, and there's a lot, and so I have a little video, just kind of gives you a little bit of information on some of those different jobs. There are 2 emphases in this particular program. You can get an emphasis in management or infamous in tribal management. Okay, so those are 2 of the ones that you can go for. You know, it just gives you a little bit more area knowledge in that specific area, so it could be very helpful. And I have a bachelor's in American Indian Studies with emphasis in social work, so that was my emphasis in AIS. So that would be 2 of the emphasis that you could potentially pick up in that business, school business. All right, so the admission requirements have to be admitted into Haskell. The completion, you have to have at least 45 college credits